Hey, good evening and welcome to everybody there. Tonight is going to be a little different because I've got John Campbell with me, and John's internet is acting up, so we can't do a video. So you guys are just going to see little pictures of me and John in the room. So unfortunately, it's going to be that kind of night tonight. Unless we lose John and he calls back in, then we might go live video. But while we've got him here for a little while, we're going to talk to him and pick his brain. And I do believe we can take phone calls tonight. 765-276-0574. And of course, you can ask questions in the chat room. And we should be able to see what you're typing in the chat room and talk to you from there. So, John, welcome to Around the Cabin, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Rich. Glad to be here.
Oh, wonderful. I've known John for, what, probably almost 3 years now, right, John? Two something at least.
Approaching it pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Well, John, it's been a while since you and I have had a chat session just to see what the heck's going on in life. And what's going on your end of the woods over there?
Lots of stuff, really. I've got knife designs I'm working on, obviously. I do that a lot. My book is actually on the publisher's desk, and I'm not sure how long that'll take. I've talked to people that have been through the whole publishing process, and that takes absolutely forever. So we'll see what happens there. Well, I'm hoping to get some DVDs done.
Now, I knew about the DVDs. Let's back this up and hit this one at a time now. We've got the knives. Now, your saguaro, if I say that correctly, your saguaro cactus knife is absolutely one of my favorite knives that I get to look at. And I know you've got many different ones. How many knife makers are putting your knives out right now?
Just 3 at the moment. I've got Tops Knives that does the high desert survival knife, Scorpion Knives in the UK that's doing the saguaro survival knife, and the soon to be released Southwest Hunter and Trapper, and then I've got my new Pro Tool line.
Just 3. Yeah, he's so modest, isn't he? And the great thing, Knife Magazine, I saw that right up in Knife Magazine. I saw a good one you had there. They tested out. Like I said, the saguaro is absolutely one of my favorite. Although that Apache Bolo, it has caught my eye. Now, I might be turning into a big knife fan, all because of you. So I went out and got this humongous cold steel Gurkha kukri, and all because of Robert from Equip to Endure did his review on it, and I really liked it so much. I did order that this year. But that's saguaro. Now, there's a difference in that knife design than what a lot of people look at. It has the not only does it have the regular edge on the bottom, which is straight, and I like that smooth, straight edge. I don't like serrations on there, but it has this false edge on top where it thins down, but it's got this thick part in the middle. What's up with that?
Well, okay. I actually get asked that a lot. That giant sledge that's unsharpened across the back of that thing, you actually have to hold that knife to get it. I mean, it balances that knife perfectly. The knife functions. It's a full-size, fixed blade knife with a huge 7-inch blade on it, and it performs like a bushcrafter.
Yeah.
Now the reason I've got the swedge on there as well is because you got like roughly 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of actual space that's going to be going through the piece of wood with less friction and hang up when you're batoning.
So instead of having the entire wedge going up and having a huge, I mean, like the thickness of that knife at the handle is unbelievable. I love that the fact that it's a full tank has that thickness in the handle. You would have that going all the way to the top. So you reduce the friction by only having that large center also, but that does not also give it extra strength through that knife?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you look at the tip of the blade, the way the swedge is made, it actually even reinforces that tip because it's a little bit thicker through that little area until it tapers down into the tip.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that you actually come up with these designs. I've seen your workroom. I know the cardboard cutouts and the thoughts and the drawings and everything else. What is the reason that you did that specific knife that way?
Oh, it's kind of funny. I wanted a knife that I could take out and just beat the snot out of and just have it bounce back for more. As a matter of fact, I've done videos where I'm chopping and hacking through cow bone and that thing just bounces back like a dream.
I have seen the videos where you're going through mesquite and a few other things, and people like our buddy Foggy here doesn't realize how hard that wood is compared to some
It's
other
dense.
hardwoods. And I mean, it's just unbelievably tough stuff.
It
And
is. It's right up there with Bodoc or Osage Orange. Along those lines, it's tough. Basically, because of the lack of water that we have in the desert, everything's kind of struggling to survive. So it's competing for everything around it, and it's going to retain as much water and use it all up as much as possible. So the grain in the wood is just going to be just dense. It's not, you go into the eastern woodlands and you chop through pine or willow or something like that. And then you come out here and you chop on a piece of mesquite and your hand rings after chopping on it.
like you said before, it either bites you, stings you, or it's waiting to stick you later on.
That is the truth.
Well, I think you outdid yourself with that knife design, and then you went. What was the other one? The IRK? Is that what I want to say? Another one you came up with?
IRK.
IRK is that you had the Apache Bolo, and then you had a tactical that was right there next to the Apache Bolo that you came up.
Oh, that's the SPCSE.
Okay.
Yeah, that means special purpose combat, survival, and egress. I designed that knife. I actually took it out, and that's what I harvest my hand drill spindles with. That thing, the edge on all those blades is just a really simple axe grind. And the reason I did that is just because you just take a stone, lay it across that edge, and just work it just like you would an axe, and it just restores that edge beautifully.
Now, I'm old school, and I go with my Rat 3. I go with the Moore. I go with the other stuff. I'm not a big knife fan, but I understand.
Nothing wrong with that.
I understand the different needs for different. But instead of carrying a big knife, I carry a tomahawk and a saw. Okay? So I understand where the guys go with the one knife, one tool option, other things like that. You and I have both been through, and you teach knife only classes.
Yeah.
And once and I know, and a few other people that we know the how to make a knife via either trash or bone or wood or rock or whatever, you can go with the no tool class. Pretty much you can walk in and survive if you need to. But the knife only class that you teach you need to have a tool, what your knife is, that you can bet your life on.
Absolutely.
And I would be willing to bet my life on that Sawar knife in a heartbeat. So
that's definitely one design that I'm very proud of.
I think that I have seen reviews on it. Fabulous knife, beautiful knife. Now, what are the scales on that knife? Because I'm going to tell you this, I have heard reviews where people said it was a little slippery, or they had to get used to that. So what are the scales on that blade?
It's actually a polished micarta. I went that direction with the polished blade for more of aesthetic reasons. And those that don't like, slippery handles, you can just basically take a piece of 600 grit sandpaper and just rough it up. Now, there is a black version of the blade where the scales are not polished, and it's a little bit more rugged than the polished, aesthetic, beautiful blade.
Now, well, hey, I mean, if somebody wants a blade for their collection, it is a polished, beautiful blade. There is no doubt about it. Now, the black, I know that it's a carbon steel. The black on the blade. Now, what is that one?
It's a black Fluorolon coating, and believe it or not, you can strike a ferro rod with the coating on. You don't have to remove it like you do with a lot of the other blades. It doesn't affect striking the ferro rod at all.
Sweet. So you got basically one for show and one for go if you really wanted to go that part, but both of them function equally well, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's my favorite of your knives, and I've seen some of the knives you haven't put out yet. or at least some of the designs you've got for the blades you haven't put out yet, which I'm not going to talk about. But what is your favorite knife that's out there now for you?
Oh my God, there's the question.
And no, you
Oh,
can't.
I knew this.
I know
I
you're a
knew this
free.
was coming.
Well, you carry. Let's see. I knew you carried one on your hip. You carry one in your pack. I don't know if you carry a third every once in a while or not, but I know you at least carry two. So you have one within arm's reach all the time because I know how you are.
Yeah, that's what I try to do.
Right.
My favorite.
If you could reach for
I
one knife, if you could reach for one knife to go out, your life depended on it, what would it be?
It has to be the Saguaro because that is my very first design that came from my own mind and was produced. Yeah, it has to be the Saguaro. Has to be.
Robert is in the room from E to E. I think you know Robert. I'll say it. And he's asking what knife we're talking about, the Saguaro knife, Robert, and that's the one he's picking. But I don't know, man. I see that Apache Bolo.
Well, let me explain something to you about the Apache Bolo. I also have a redesign of what's called the Bush Maiden.
That's 4 pounds of steel. No,
damn near. These blades are designed. It's kind of an experiment that I'm doing with blade design. It's a little hard to explain. I don't have any problem getting out there and swinging around a 2-pound chunk of steel. Okay, I can chop circles around a lot of people that I hang around with out here.
All right.
Take a 2-pound to 3-pound piece of steel. That's not going to be for everybody, and I understand that. So, the first thing that somebody's going to say is, "Holy crap, that's heavy." Yeah, it is.
That was the first thing I had with this knife that I bought, and it's all Robert's fault for me picking up this cold steel Gurkha. But yeah, it's like 2 pounds of steel, and I figured if you're going to go big knife, you might as well go big knife. And
see, I was also wanting something that would allow you to defend yourself. You get heavy of a chunk of steel with that kind of an edge, it's whatever it hits, it's coming off.
That's exactly it. That's exactly that. That is a zombie slayer from you know where, no doubt about it. But in the same token, if you have to cut mesquite, or you don't have time, and you want to chop this and chop that and get that bush out of the way or whatever else, how's the back on that thing?
The back on which one?
The Bush Maiden. How is the back? What steel is that made out of? If I'm going to dent that if I start beating on stuff with it backwards, cracking nuts or?
No, not at all. It's quarter-inch thick all the way through.
Breaking bones or?
And that's another reason, speaking of breaking bones, when you're dressing out a deer and you got to get through that pelvic bone, a lot of people, I don't know if there's a lot of elk hunters out there, but the pelvic bone on an elk it's monstrous.
Right.
You need something that's going to chop through that, and it'll do it. Now, the Bush Maiden, if you look at the back of the spine of the Bush Maiden, it's got kind of a hump. I jokingly call it a whale hump, but all it does is basically just pushes the edge of the tip, of the blade down to where you can flip that sucker over and you can clear out a fire spot. You can clear out your shelter area or whatever without having any risk of dinging up the tip of your blade.
Yeah, it's one thing people talk about, and I've heard it, but not many of us do it, is digging with a knife.
Absolutely.
So you have to think about those kind of things that you're going to do, and you have a one knife option. You may be harvesting wild edibles by digging with your knife, whereas you said clearing out an area, cracking nuts, or breaking. And here's a big thing people don't think about. If you are getting large game, or you've already gotten a game that's already down, if you're at the scavenging part and you find a dead cow, hopefully not as bad as Joseph Teddy came across as a dead cow in a dual survivor thing. But
they're out there.
If you come across that dead cow and you want to get the marrow out of the bone, a raw cow bone is very tough.
Yes, it is. It's thicker than elk bone, that's for sure.
And cracking into that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Take the back of that spine and just crack it. It'll break it, without a doubt.
Well, we've covered the knife aspect now, and you talked about the book and DVDs.
Yeah.
All right, let's delve into the book. Tell us about the book.
Well, the book, as far as everything else goes on that, the finished manuscript that I turned in was 300 written pages, and that's after I went through and removed a lot of things, which it allows me to work with some stuff as far as articles and other things in the future if I want to do other books or other projects. It's when it does come out, by the time it's done, there's going to be a lot of photos within that 300 pages, which will boost the amount of pages that it's going to have. Reason being is because I'm trying to work to where there's two different types of learners. There's people that can read a book and they can say, okay, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to try this and see if it works. And then they'll adapt it to their own specific style. The photos will help to get a visual idea to where people can say, oh, now I see how that's done. I'm going to go out and try it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now I should point out, John, you and I are talking like we always talk. I need to point out in the room what the book is about and what the book's called.
We're not exactly sure yet. I can't even say who the publisher is at this point.
Can you tell us what the book is about?
Yeah, it's the working title is Survival in the Southwest.
Okay. So it has to deal with not only it deals with, I knew it was, you were talking part about dealing with wild edibles and other things out of the book. And
well, I had to move that chapter out. That's going to be a completely separate book on itself. I've started writing.
I knew that. I knew you were going with a wild edible book itself, but I didn't know you took that chapter out of. So what's going on with the book? What's in the book then?
Okay, I start out with your basic psychology of survival. The whole tell somebody where you're going and when you'll be back type scenario, what to do whenever you find yourself in the situation. I deal with building your kit all the way from, different knives to carry, which, yes, they're my knives that are in there.
Well,
but
your book, your knives, why not?
Yeah, well, there's a few in there that aren't.
Your views, your opinions, your thoughts. That's why it's your book.
Right. Then I go from that into shelter, and I cover very simple shelters that can be done in the field, like depending on if you are in the lower desert, the lower Sonoran Desert, you're in pinyon juniper forest, the Ponderosa Belt, possibly riparian areas, and I cover those different areas in the book. And then from there, I cover water, fire, all the whole thing. There's a pretty interesting trapping and hunting section in there, to say the least.
Wonderful, wonderful. Who anybody write the what's the word for the front part of the book? Anybody, you got any special people who wrote in the book for you or dedicated a book to or anything?
Well, there is one. I've got to get him to rewrite it, and as soon as we get to that point, my friend Caleb Musgrave actually wrote the foreword in the book, and it's not in there. I've got to stop him and say, look, this has to go in there. But so far, the people that I'm working with are great. They'll listen. Great,
wonderful. So you got a second book you're working on, Wild Edibles. You and I had talked about that.
And it's well, that one it's on my computer, and it's got so far 152 last time I counted plants, and it covers not only the edibles but the medicinals and just all around useful plants of the Southwest region.
Going to be color?
It has to be.
You and I think alike. I cannot tell you how disappointed. There was a new book out on Paladin's Press that was Eat on the Run or something like that, and I found out, I didn't buy the book because I found out it was supposed to be in black and white. And
well, a lot of times it depends on my personal opinion on books when it comes to plants. I personally don't have an issue with a book that has, say, drawings or black and white pictures. The reason being is because most of the time I'll use that scientific name. And if I find a plant out in the field that I want to research, I'll get the scientific name from a field guide, and then I'll start searching the scientific name on Google on ethnobotanical sites. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of books from Michael Moore.
Right.
Michael Moore is the renowned ethnobotanist of the southwest region of the U.S. His stuff is absolutely amazing. And it actually got to where if he writes something in one of, or unfortunately he has passed, but if I read something in one of his books, I am not afraid to go out and try it. That's how good that man is.
Now, my big thing about colored pictures and edible wild books are the problem I have is that a lot of people I know go out and they'll use the book and harvest and eat what they find out there. Oh, well, this is in a book. Let me try this. And it's the wrong thing.
Right.
And unfortunately,
Right.
they don't go back and study. They don't. In my other videos and other shows I had mentioned, get 2 or 3 books. Cross-reference.
You've got to have a field guide. You've got to have a field guide specific to your area that's going to have not only color pictures of the blooms, but also the leaves and other things like that that will give you a clear distinction as to what plant that is.
I also tell people to cross-reference with other books also. Don't just go by one. Go by numerous ones. As you said, you go back home and you research the plant. You use the internet, you use other books. I know I've seen part of your library stuff hanging up on the wall where you go back and look through different things. But the problem I have with people is they get one book and run out and go, oh, this says this is it, and I grab it and eat it, and then they've screwed up, or somebody's put the wrong picture up, or I found wrong information in Peterson's field guides. I mean, it happens, by the time it goes through the publishers and the print and everything else, somebody mixes one picture with the wrong wording and bam, somebody's going to get hurt or sick or worse. And
studying plants is probably, it's the hardest thing I've ever tried to do. I know for a fact that it's the hardest area of study that you can get into. You have to know what you're doing.
I've been doing it for 40 years, and I still find plants I don't know what the heck they are, because sometimes they crossbreed, they escape into the wild, and you come across it and go, what is that?
Right, and those are usually variants of another plant, and I get so confused when I see those. I've actually had I've had plant classes before where somebody will actually be talking about the yucca or the juniper or something like that, and they'll look down, they'll see a plant, and they'll say, what is this? And I'm the kind of person that if I'm teaching a class, I'm not going to make it seem like, well, I know everything. I'll look down and I'll say, let's take a picture of that and study it. I have no idea what that plant is. And that's what I do. So.
Because if you tell somebody wrong, they ask me what it is. And if I don't know what it is right off the top of my head, I tell them it's a weed.
Yeah.
What's
or
that?
a leverite.
Yeah.
It's a leverite. Leave it right there.
Yeah, leverite. There you go. That's a wonderful one. Leave it right there. Yeah, don't touch that. Well, I mean, that's like junipers. Now, some green dean. You know who green dean is out of Florida, green dean. Our buddy Tom grew up with dean in Maine. That's where dean's from. And you remember Tom Thompson? You know who I'm talking about, 16204, 16204, old Tom. And
oh yeah, I've talked to Tom a few times.
There is with green dean, as he said the other day, people mention junipers. Not all junipers are edible.
No, they're not.
And,
they are medicinal, but they're not all edible.
Right, and if somebody learns, oh, it's a juniper, it's edible, and then they go to another place and they say, well, that's a northern juniper, and that's a southern juniper, and that's a and they get these different, that's an Asian juniper. And they go for that low-lying bush. Guess what? Surprise.
Another problem we have here, junipers can be mistaken for 2 different types of plants. We have cypress. We have an Arizona cypress here that looks very similar to a juniper. There's also a tamarisk, which referred to a salt cedar,
right?
That looks very similar as well. And you get a hold of the tamarisk and you start munching on those leaves because, well, you need to clear out some kind of bacterial or mold or something you got a hold of from your uncleaned canteen, and well, you're going to cause some serious problems. The same can be said with the Arizona cypress. Now, it's known for taking care of intestinal parasites and stuff like that, but the dose is much lower than you would use for the juniper.
And people go out there and they try and get these, most junipers that are the low shrubs are non-edible, which are the ones that are actually the Asian junipers that they bring over here for landscaping. So once somebody says, oh, it's a juniper, and then they find out they got a juniper in their yard, it's the wrong kind of juniper. And so,
Oh yeah.
you know, oh yeah, and that's the kind of thing with wild edible plants and with edible plants, even that are not wild, that, you know, people have to understand before they go out there. That's a big scary thing for a lot of people when they get involved with this, and I just like to keep them on the same track and make sure they understand the look and go that different routes. But let's swing over to the DVDs. You and I had talked about DVDs for a while, and then you went up
I've been
north and played
planning
with
DVDs
those.
for a while.
Yeah, and then you went up and you played with the guys from National Geographic, and then you were Discovery Channel. Excuse me, Discovery Channel for what do you call it? Canada.
Yeah, I did a segment for Discovery Canada.
What, you don't like us anymore?
Huh?
What, you don't like us anymore? You're gonna go to Canada? We're too good to do stuff for here in the United States, or what's the deal?
Oh no, they contacted me and they asked if I could show them some desert survival skills. I said, sure, I'll take you out in the desert and we'll see, some basic stuff. Like they wanted me to show it to the point to where, say, a Canadian was here on vacation that had never been here before, what would they do? So we took that and we ran with it. It was heavily edited like everything else on TV. And all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. I wasn't disappointed.
Well, good. Good. That's what matters there. Is it? So you got that. Now, is that going to be available in the United States? Can we order that from Discovery or anything like that?
No, actually, if you go to my website,
okay,
Arizona Bushman,
ArizonaBushman.com,
and on my media page, right at the top, there's a link that says something to the effect of click here to see my segment from Discovery Canada. And it should pop up the video player, and I'm on right after the astronaut.
Wonderful, wonderful. So they can watch that part then. Well, John, if you would hang on for a moment, we're going to take a quick station break here and stretch your legs, go get yourself a drink, put your rattlesnake away, which we'll talk about later.
Okay.
So if you hang loose for a minute, we're going to play some Russian disco music and just hang on here, man.
All righty.
All right. Take a break, everybody. We'll see you in a minute.
Summit's Edge Coffee, offering premium, organic, and the best tasting coffees from all regions of the world. They have the ability to provide you with endless gourmet selections. Summit's Edge also carries coffee sauces and syrups and the best tasting teas to be found. They carry Dr. Smoothie products that are all natural and shelf stable. Summit's Edge Coffee, the prepper's choice in coffee. Find them on the web at summitedgecoffee.com.
And we are back. And I want to say welcome to everybody in the room, everybody who's listening, everybody who will listen later on to the recorded show. I see Dogman has joined us. Lady B dropped in. Robert from Equipped to Endure happened by. Sleep No More is there. X-Fox. I see all you people hanging out in the room. I say, hey, hi, Montana. Countryman's there with us. Of course, the regular crew with Castle Mom. I see Foggy jumped in. Foggy's from across in the UK. Hello to you. Hello to everybody. If I missed you in the room, Rocky Mountain. Well, I don't have to mention you, dear. You're always here. I think you live in the room half the time. Even when there's nobody else hanging around, you're over here. So. But I want to say hi to everybody. And once again, welcome my friend John Campbell. And I thank you, John, for staying with us here for the other half of the show. Thank you for being in.
It's been fun.
Now, we appreciate that. We do have a question in the room, and that question was posed by Castle Mom, and she said, does John know any other survival instructors across the United States? And the question for her was also, do you know anybody in the Washington State area?
Nobody in the Washington State area. A lot of my survival instructors that I know here deal with desert survival. A lot of people know that I did take Cody's class. Cody is an awesome person, by the way. I know a Thomas Coyne. He runs.
Cody is a nut. You know it, and I know it. But no, no, he is. He's a good guy. Great guy.
Mm-hmm. See, there's also Thomas Coyne. He runs the Survival School of California. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember the exact name of it. I worked with him when me and Ron Hood were working with the History Channel, actually.
Right, you and Ron was my mentor. Of course, you knew that, and you got to do some stuff with Ron. The History Channel, that reminds me. Tell us a little about the History Channel happenings.
Oh, the History Channel was an awesome experience. I really, really wish they would have aired that show. It's the time when I got to work with Ron, and I can't say enough good about Ron. Being able to work with him was like being able to work with my childhood mentor. The part that was a little bit unnerving was having him judge every move I made on the survival show. But seriously, he was probably one of the nicest people I'd ever met.
I'm going to ask you to tell, because I know them both. You know them. Robert knows them. A couple other people in the room know Ron and Karen before Ron passed away. I'm going to ask you to tell the Karen Hood SHOT Show story of the little blonde jumping up and down yelling.
Oh, it wasn't jumping up and down yelling. I was walking through, and I come around the corner, and I hear a little voice, and it's John. And I turn around, I'm looking, and I didn't see anybody, and I started to walk on by, and I heard it again, and there she was. I was like, oh wow, I didn't even see her.
And now the story I got from Karen on that was that she was yelling and yelling and yelling, and you didn't hear her. Of course, you know how SHOT Show is. Then there's 10,000.
Oh yeah.
But she's yelling, John Campbell, John, trying to get your attention with everything else going on. And she's only like X amount of feet high anyway, so you know. That's great.
She's a great lady. She really is. She is a great lady.
That's wonderful. And you and I had discussed this earlier, and Robert and I have talked, and we've got people in the room who. One thing I want to make everybody know, it's like I've had people ask me, well, how do you ask somebody like John to come to the show? I say, well, I call him on the phone. I go, hey, John, you want to do the show? You know, everybody is just normal people. When John calls and talks to Cody, or, I don't know, Robert in the room talks to Les Stroud, or you know, I talk to Les, or anybody else, we call each other back and forth. It's the same as if you call your friend. Yeah,
basically.
Everybody is just so down to earth. It's not like, you know, I'm on Discovery Channel, you must now bow to my feet or anything like that. Everybody's just normal people. You can approach these people. If you see them on the street, walk up and kindly say hi to them and stuff like that, you know. It's when you run up and go, can I get your autograph? Hey, who are you? And then they kind of go, whoa. you know, but just be a normal person with everybody, and you'll find out that they're just normal people and great people, just like John here and Robert and everybody else is just great people. So I'm very blessed to have you all for friends too. I want to say I appreciate that. You know, talking with you and being that way. So I'm blessed to have everybody that way also. So, and John is one. Yeah. And Mike's yelling in our ear, me too, me too. Yeah. So, but, you know, great people, great. John's a great guy. You know, I remember the first time I called John Campbell at home. I called.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. He was out back doing something at the old house. And I called, his wife answers the phone. She says, who is this? And I said, well, I go on the internet by Rich the Ridge Hunter. I'm calling to speak to John Campbell. And she goes, just a minute. And she opens up the back door and starts doing what every wife does. John! You know, there's some guy on the phone, you know, and I'm like, oh man. So, you know. But yeah, you know, it's just normal people. That's the way it goes, man. So it's great. It's great. I got to talk to her today and ask her. I know your wife had hurt her ankle a while back, and she was doing fine. And now one question I got to ask. I wish Discovery had let that go, or excuse me, History Channel had let that go through with you and Ron. Tell everybody in the room about the rattlesnakes. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I told you I wouldn't put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. Tell everybody about the rattlesnakes, you crazy man, you.
Oh, I dropped my headset.
You liar, liar.
No. Yeah, the wife has actually gotten used to the idea that I bring rattlesnakes home and you know, keep them next to us. Basically, sometimes they'll be sitting. They're in totes. They're in totes. They're safe. She still gets a little upset when I open them up to play with them. But yeah, I've even got a special little terrarium that when I go rattlesnake hunting, I'll bring them home and they'll stay the night with me, and then we'll take them out.
You still have the one under the TV?
No, we actually let him go.
No, I mean, is that where the terrarium's at? Still under the television?
Oh, no. It's actually sitting right here next to me.
Okay. Now, I know that when I call the house, and first thing I asked your wife was, does he have a snake? She said no. I said, that's good, because I was going to have you put the snake away before you got on the phone, because it's very unnerving to talk to you on the phone and hear in the background while I'm talking to you. And
a lot of times.
Knowing that you have the lid off and are playing with it, not paying attention to what's going on.
A lot of times I'll have one just as we get back from hunting them. Me and my friend David will bring him to the house, like I said, and I'll set him next to me while I'm talking on Skype with some friends of mine. And my friend Caleb actually came unglued one day because he's like, dude, what's that noise? So it's a rattlesnake. He's like, you have rattlesnakes sitting next to you? Yeah. Like it was a big deal or something, you know?
Like it was a big deal.
Then he goes off on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now John is graciously speaking with us tonight, and John has a boo-boo, shall we say, or he has a little hurt. Not really sure. Now he is in the Southwest, and he has some other thing. And actually, Rocky Mountain Survival can relate to you right now, because John has been bitten by a spider.
Oh yeah.
And we're not exactly sure which one it was. It was 2 days ago, and he's got some swelling, and he's had some nausea and some other stuff. And I told him just cut it out. He'd be okay. Just get the knife in there, burn it, cut it. You'll do all right. It's probably just
drill that sucker out. Drill
that's
it.
That's right. Just like you're making a bow drill set. Just get the knife point in there and twist it around. And I did that with my brown recluse bite. And I don't know if that's what he's got, but yeah, it couldn't hurt. You just cut that flesh out. You'll be all right.
Right now, I've actually got a poultice of woolly plantain, which is, you know, it's Plantigo lanceolata or whatever. You know, I'm bad with scientific names.
Right.
But I've got that on there, and so far, since I've had that on there for the past, I'd say about hour and a half, as swelling's dropped, it's drawing some of that crap out of there. It's doing pretty good.
Good. Just make sure you don't put it back in and chew it after it's done that. Make sure you change your poultice with a different one. But,
yeah.
Don't pop that back in your mouth and chew on that after it's yeah. So now you have let's see, who's in your area right now. You're not too far from well, Cody's around there close to you. You've got what's his name? The one that plays with the Air Force or the Army all the time. Air Force, Army. What's Nestor?
Yeah, Tony Nestor. Tony Nestor's a great guy.
I got a book from Tony right before Christmas. I got that. What he sent me? He sent me the harvesting book with the living off the foraging book with the gun on the picture on the all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
with a 22 foraging. I forget the name of it now. I'm sorry, Tony, if you're listening. I forgot the name of the book. I don't have it in front of me. I got the foraging book that he sent me, and so I got that stuff. That was pretty cool. And everybody just really great people, great guys, good stuff.
Now he was actually on Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern a while back.
Well,
and after I saw that episode, I called him and I asked him. I said, "Dude, I got to know what kind of person is Andrew Zimmern?" He says, "Well, he's exactly like he is on TV." Wow, that's pretty cool.
Well, let's see. Andrew's done it with him. He's done it with Hawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been on with Michael Hawk.
Yeah, I don't know who else he's been on with, but those two at least. I'd give Andrew a run for his money. I'd like to see him eat a couple of different things.
I have to agree. I'm one that likes to eat too. I finally got my wife to where she likes deep fried scorpions.
Okay, that is a big thing with a lot of people. They don't in the United States now, and you understand this, and a lot of other people do. They don't like bugs in the United States.
Yeah, and I can't understand why.
Mealworms are some of my most favorite nutty flavored bugs out there.
They are. They're very good.
I love those. Regular worms are not a problem. But in other countries, protein is a very limited thing. And they don't realize, a lot of people don't realize in other countries, you don't get like a side of beef or a hamburger or something like that. There's a lot of insects.
Well, I'll tell you what. Most people in this country don't even realize it, but they eat bugs every day.
Well, we won't talk about red dye.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, you eat a loaf of bread. You
have a hot
pastries
dog
that you like. Definitely.
Your hot dogs, as my dad used to call them, floor sweepings.
Yeah.
And there is an amount of, let's just get raw here. There's an amount of feces and animal waste and insects that are allowed in most foods, and people don't realize that.
Right. Well, also when it comes to stuff like that, you got to realize the cooking process kills all the bacteria.
Right.
So it's actually not going to hurt you.
And if you've ever put up large amounts of like flour, the first thing you should do is freeze your flour. That then stops the development of the eggs and the other stuff that are in the flour. And then, of course, when you go through, if you find any bugs in your flour, don't sift them out. That's just extra protein. Grind them up with the rest of it. You'll be okay.
Weevils actually taste pretty good.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it, but a lot of people really get, icky and don't go with that kind of stuff. But in a survival situation, some insects can be your best friends. No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Mike's in our ear going, maggots.
Well, maggots can be classified as just larvae.
Right. And if you've watched Bear Grylls, there's some pretty big larvae too.
Oh yeah. Here we've had termite larvae and ant larvae. Yeah. And I don't suggest everybody go running outside in the spring and summer and dig up that ant hill because black ants, red ants, they're pretty mean, but their larvae are absolutely amazing.
And there are in Australia they have some ants that are actually I forget what they call them, but their bodies they store a sugar, liquid water and sugar in their body. It's almost like eating honey. I've heard that of the abdomen of the ant. It's very good, but yeah, you don't want to go out there and start kicking ants over and get your foot stuck in a nest of fire ants or something like that. Now,
go
ahead.
One thing I've done in the past, I've taken a piece of bark, I've dug up the the small piss ant hill, we'll call them, the small tiny ants.
Yeah.
And I'll take that clump that's got the eggs and the larvae in it, and I'll put it on that piece of bark and break it up, and I'll get all the little ant larvae in it. I'll put half of it in the sun and the other half in the shade. And what happens is those ants will come through and they'll move all those larvae and eggs into the shade for you. And it's divided, and there you go. There's your, you can get a good half canteen cup of ant larvae or eggs, cook them up, and it's amazing. And it's filling.
The same with bees. I mean, if you remember the old video with Ron Hood collecting bees by using an old piece of hamburger or something there he'd found along the side of the trail, and made a bee. The bees would eat and drop into the canteen cup and drowned, and he made bee soup with the bees and stuff. Now, you're going to have to behave and be careful which bees you use. And,
that's one thing that there's been beehives while I've had classes in the past, and we don't even mess with those. It's too dangerous.
Well, I know you carried an EpiPen for quite a while, and you had pushed that too in some of your videos. You carried EpiPen not only for the class but also for yourself, just because of how many bees you have.
Yeah, we've got Africanized bees, and even a honeybee. You get close to just a nesting, resting set of honeybees, swarm. They'll come unglued and they'll put the hurt on you.
Rocky Mountain Survival Gear has asked, how many bugs and larvae do you need to consume in order to survive? And how do you manage to eat them without losing your stomach?
Without losing, there is a gag reflex there at first. It's an inherent thing with people that don't readily consume things like that. It's something you have to get past. It really is. And once you do, it's like it's no different than, well, I hate to put it this way, but eating a French fry.
Yeah. Now, the first thing they told us in the service, we took survival in the service, was we could have worms or we could have worms with eggs. And I looked at this drill instructor and I said, what's the difference? He said, eventually you just eat the worms. I said, serve them up. Let's get this over with. And, that was pretty much my start to eating the bugs, kind of thing like that. But then when I traveled overseas, I realized what was going on. And, grasshoppers are not bad as long as you take the wings off and things like that. You have to cook the grasshopper because the parasites in their bodies, things like that.
They carry tapeworm.
Right. Yeah. So there are different things. This whole conversation reminds me now. Typically, how many bugs, larvae do you need to consume? Well, that would be like, how many hamburgers do you have to eat to live?
Well, pound for pound, bugs actually have more fat and protein in them than beef, right. So it wouldn't take as much.
Right, but
not as much as you're thinking.
What you're thinking of is how much to consume. I couldn't tell you. You might be able to go a day or two on just a handful. Depends on what it is and how fat they are and whatever else they've got with them.
Yeah, so you'd have to balance your diet out. That's for sure. You'd want to have your ant larvae flambe and your tossed wild green salad. You want to balance all that stuff out. And
your water with the poo in it. Oh wait, that was your last video you just did with it. I saw that video you did on. Let's see, you were on a friend of yours has got a channel up. What's his name? You did the life straw.
Oh, right. There's Martin Survival. He's coming a long ways. He's learning a lot. He's starting to do pretty well. Good.
I saw that video where you guys were drinking out of the life straw and doing that. It has a very good straw. I was checking it out. That Bass Pro Shop has those. So, well, I got about 3 minutes left, John. 3-4 minutes. Is there anything you want to touch on that we haven't tonight? I know it's just kind of been a bull section for us. And any questions from anybody in the room? You guys want to type in any more questions? Anything you'd like to kick around, John?
I'm actually kind of shocked, and the time actually flew by really quick. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to be here. And if you ever want me on again, definitely ask. I'll be here.
buddy, if you want to come on and do my show or Mike's show or whatever, I'm sure Mike would love to have you too. Monday night, whatever else. Sunday night show we've got. Anytime you want to come by, you're more than welcome. Jump in with us. You're always welcome back with me, my friend. So,
Absolutely.
But anything we should be looking forward to for John Campbell?
Oh, at the moment, I'll try to keep everybody as updated as I can as to the things that I get done. I have been asked to write some articles for. I'm not actually sure if I'm allowed to mention that who it is at this point in time.
I don't know. I don't know. They would have to throw something
right.
out. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I know what you. Let's not say anything about that right now. And well, he says yes. Does that mean yes? We can put yes. We can if we can. How about that? I'll put it that way. So it's yes, you can. He says yes.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I had the opportunity to speak with Adam at Equip to Endure, and
wonderful.
He's another really great guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. He was talking to a friend of mine, and I got in touch with him through a very good friend of mine, and they had asked if I wanted to do some articles for their EDE website. So look for those, definitely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, actually, Robert, who's in the room, is actually going to come on a show next month in February with me. And one of the things I'm going to do next month is I'm going to be giving away, I've got it ordered, I'm hoping it gets here in time, but Jeff White is a knife maker out of Indiana, and he sells quite a few knives. And Jeff White knives was actually one of the production knives that they used in Pirates of the Caribbean. In all theirs, the Pirates knives. But Jeff White is making a knife, and I'm going to give it away next month. Here,
a movie prop?
No, it's a. Well, he designed it. It's actually I want to say 17th century English trade knife is what it is.
Oh, very cool.
They used it in the movie. Matter of fact, you have seen the exact same knife. I've got a video up on it. It looks like our friend over here in Ohio who's got with Blind Horse. It looks like their kind of knives. And the one I have has tiger maple on it, and that's what I'm ordering another. It's an English trade knife, round-handled, tiger mapled handle, and I'm going to be giving that knife. We're going to be giving one of those knives away next month here on the shows, and so now I do know. I want to take the last minute or two here to say. I greatly appreciate you being on a show, and I do know that you've got some neck knives in the work that I'm hoping to find out from you and take a look at. And I wanted to ask you, because I talked to Robert in here about it, I've asked you once before about a stainless steel ocean knife.
As a matter of fact, it's funny you bring that up. I'm actually in the process of designing a dive knife.
Okay.
It would have to be stainless steel.
Right. Right. But what I'm
That's
getting
all
at
I'm
is
saying.
Some of the shall we say, lost at sea knives kind of thing, more so than a what do I want to say? More so than a dive knife, but an actual I can keep it in a boat, the salt won't affect it, that kind of deal.
Right, right.
So, I just want to put the knife in and twist it a little there on you, my friend. That's all. That's why I keep pushing. I keep pushing you for that. Keep pushing you for that one, John. Man, I greatly appreciate you showing up, brother. I'm glad everything's going well for you and the family. I know you just moved. Your wife's doing well. Go take care of your hand got bit.
Yeah.
And go cut that out to get that taken care of. Dump some alcohol on it. You'll be all right. Yeah. Mike just said one-armed bandit in the room for everybody. So, yeah, he's sitting here doing everything. John, I appreciate you being here, buddy. I'm going to have to cut this, and we're going to go now. It's 10 o'clock. But I thank everybody for being here. Thank you, John. Thanks, Mike, for running the board for me tonight. Hi to everybody out there, and we'll see you all next time. Don't forget, Sunday. Is that the next show, Mike? Sunday? Yeah, okay. Sunday's the next show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, right back here. We're going to take a day or two off. And, John, you're always invited back, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right.
Everybody that was out there, thank you for showing up and listening to me rant and ramble, and it was great to be here.
Great. Glad you had a good time. All right. We'll catch you all later. Have a good one, people.
Mm-hmm.